The war with the Tarkesh swarm had ended. The galaxy celebrated. Fireworks bloomed over countless worlds. The council hall on Velcor Prime glowed with 1,000 banners of victory. Every species credited the alliance, the strength of unity, the courage of soldiers. But everyone knew the truth whispered beneath the celebrations. It had been the humans who ended the war, the quiet ones who had sat in the back after the Silence 3 standard years passed. Peace returned, but it was fragile, like glass, humming with invisible cracks. Trade resumed, colonies rebuilt, fleets demobilized. And yet something strange began to happen. The humans withdrew. They didn't attend the next 3 galactic summits. Their fleets no longer patrolled border systems. Even their diplomats, so rare to begin with, vanished from public channels. Terran space went dark. The other races grew uneasy. Perhaps they fear us now, some said. Perhaps they are rebuilding their fleets, others whispered. Or perhaps, murmured the Yulthar Prime Mind, they are simply watching again. The inquiry, in the 4th year, the Council of Allied Species voted to send an inquiry delegation to Earth itself. A symbolic gesture, they claimed, a mission of goodwill and cooperation. In truth, it was driven by curiosity and fear. The delegation included representatives from the Karathi, Yulthar, Draxian, and Zir. They traveled aboard the Celestial Concorde, the most advanced diplomatic cruiser in the galaxy. When they arrived at Sol, they were met not by a fleet but by silence. No warships, no orbital platforms, not even traffic beacons. Just one small station orbiting Luna, its lights dimmed, its transmissions brief. The ship hailed for hours before receiving a single reply. A human voice, calm and precise. Welcome to Terran space. Please transmit identification and purpose. One vessel only. No weapons active. The counselors exchanged uneasy looks. For the first time, they were the ones being told where to sit. Arrival when they finally descended to Earth. They expected to see cities shining like galactic capitals. Vast, towering metropolises of metal and light. Instead, they saw forests, oceans, mountains, settlements scattered like jewels across a living world. It looked almost primitive, but the sensors said otherwise. Beneath the surface were faint energy readings, massive power networks buried deep underground. The delegation landed in a serene valley beneath a crystalline sky. Waiting for them was a single figure, Ambassador Elira Trent. She looked exactly as she had years ago, calm, poised, faintly amused. "Welcome back to Earth," she said with that soft, dangerous smile. "It's been a while since anyone from the Council came this far." The Karathi Archlord bowed stiffly. "Ambassador Trent, the Council seeks to reaffirm our alliance and to understand your withdrawal." Elira nodded. "Understand, yes. That's what you've always wanted from us." She turned and began walking toward a ridge overlooking a glittering city in the valley below. The aliens followed. "You came to learn why we sit in the back," she said. "But you only learned half the lesson." The hidden city below them lay New Geneva, a city half buried in the earth, its architecture minimalist, its skyline subdued. But when the Yulthar delegate extended its photonic senses, it gasped. "The entire city is shielded," it said in awe. "No emissions, no detectable power signature. It's like nothing is there." Elira smiled faintly. "We learned during your wars that visibility invites envy and attack. So we built differently. Our power lies beneath the surface." She led them through corridors lit by gentle blue light. Human scientists and soldiers passed them, nodding politely but without stopping. Everything was quiet. No shouting, no orders, no chaos. Just precision. The Zir construct recorded every movement, fascinated. "This world runs on invisible infrastructure," it said. "Perfect efficiency." "Not perfect," Elira corrected. "Just learned." They entered a circular chamber where a holographic projection of the galaxy shimmered. Blue dots, Terran observation outposts, glowed along the rim. "You withdrew," said the Draxian counselor. "But you're still watching everyone." "Of course," Elira said. "Someone has to." A hidden truth, the delegation stayed for days, observing, recording, questioning. They learned that humanity had quietly seeded dozens of autonomous listening stations across the galaxy. Tiny, stealth-protected probes gathering data on every fleet movement, every diplomatic shift, every whisper of war. They learned that human AI systems monitored communications not just in Terran space, but within the Council networks themselves. "You spy on us?" demanded Archlord Veer. Elira turned to him, unflinching. "We listen." "Same as always." "That's manipulation," the Yulthar Prime protested. "Control through silence." "No," said Elira softly. "It's protection. You all think power comes from speaking the loudest, commanding the most ships. But true power, the kind that wins wars, comes from understanding what others miss." She pointed to the hologram. "You fight for the front. We watch from the back. And when the next storm comes, and it will, we'll already know which way the wind is blowing." The forgotten enemy on the 6th day of their visit. Something unexpected happened. An alert tone echoed through the facility. Red lights flashed silently. Elira's expression darkened. "You should return to your ship," she said. "This doesn't concern you." "What is it?" asked the Karathi Archlord. Hand drifting to his sidearm, Elira hesitated, then sighed. "A signal. From outside the galactic rim. One we haven't heard in centuries." The holographic map zoomed out, beyond the known sectors. There, faintly pulsing, was a red mark labeled Origin, Alpha Perseus Anomaly. "The swarm?" the Draxian whispered. Elira shook her head slowly. "No. Worse. The architects long before the Alliance, before even the Yulthar, there had been rumors of the architects, an ancient civilization that shaped worlds and vanished without trace. Their ruins dotted the void, their technology defied comprehension. But now, a signal had reappeared. A living signal, and it wasn't friendly. "You knew this was coming," the Yulthar accused. "You withdrew because you knew." Elira met its blazing eyes calmly. "We suspected." "You saw what the swarm did. You think that was random?" "No, the swarm was made. Someone built them." The chamber fell silent. "You mean the architects created the Tarkesh?" "Created and lost control." She tapped her wrist pad, and the projection changed again, to a massive structure, half hidden in a dark nebula. It was not a ship, not a station, but something in between. A living fortress the size of a moon. "We found this years ago," Elira said. "We've been studying it ever since." "Why didn't you tell the Council?" demanded the Draxian. Elira's voice was quiet. "Because we wanted to understand it first. And because we knew what you'd do. Fight over it. Claim it. Destroy yourselves for the illusion of owning it." She paused, looking at each of them in turn. "We sit in the back not because we're shy counselors. We sit in the back because you can't think past your egos. Someone has to." The decision, the aliens were furious. Accusations flew. The Karathi slammed the table with his clawed fist. "You have no right to decide for the galaxy." "We didn't," Elira said softly. "We decided for survival." She turned to the hologram of the fortress. "That thing out there, it's not coming for conquest. It's looking for something. We don't know what yet, but it's awake." The Yulthar's crystalline body flickered with unease. "You think the architects will return?" "No," Elira said. "I think something else will. Something that killed them." The delegation stood in stunned silence. The human doctrine. That evening, before the aliens departed, Elira took them to a quiet overlook above the valley. The sun was setting, gold over blue oceans, casting light across the mountain ranges. "You wanted to know why humans sit in the back," she said. "I'll tell you the rest," she gestured at the horizon. "When our ancestors went to war on our own world, they learned something terrible. That those who rush forward often die first. The ones in front see only the enemy, but the ones behind, they see the whole field. They see how wars begin, and how they end." She turned, her eyes distant. "When you sit in the back, you see that every empire believes it's immortal. Every council believes it's united. Every species thinks it's the center of the story." She looked at them one by one. "But when the lights go out, it's always the Watchers who survive. Because they're the ones who saw it coming." The Yulthar Prime's voice was barely a whisper. "And if this new threat returns?" Elira's expression hardened. "Then humanity won't sit in the back anymore." Departure. When the delegation departed Earth, they carried with them 1,000 unanswered questions. The Council immediately demanded a full session. Accusations of secrecy, of human manipulation, of hidden technologies. But none of it mattered. Because weeks later, the signal from the Alpha Perseus anomaly grew stronger. Ships sent to investigate vanished. Communication buoys melted into static. And from the dark between galaxies, something vast began to move. Human transmission ceased entirely. The final message. Then, one cycle later, every screen in the galaxy flickered to life. A message broadcasted across every frequency, in every language. Ambassador Elira Trent appeared once more, her face calm, eyes unwavering. "To the Council of Allied Species," she said, "the signal you've detected is not an invasion. It's a recall. The architects built the galaxy as a seedbed. And now, something is coming to harvest." She paused. "We've prepared for this for centuries. You've all called us secretive, manipulative, paranoid. You were right." Her eyes hardened. The Galactic Summit was a spectacle of color, sound, and ego. On the shining capital world of Velcor Prime, hundreds of species gathered beneath the diamond dome of the Grand Concord Hall, a structure so immense that even a starship could have hovered within. Every race from the Galactic Core Alliance had a seat. The Yulthar, whose crystalline minds controlled stars. The Korathi, the galaxy's undisputed warriors. The Zir, architects of the singularity engines. And dozens more. And somewhere in the very back of that shimmering hall, behind the rows of regal species, behind even the minor traders and robotic delegates, sat the humans, 5 of them. Quiet, still, watching. Their uniforms were unadorned gray, no medals or glowing insignia. Only the small blue patch of Terran diplomatic corps on their sleeves betrayed who they were. They did not speak much, and when they did, it was in a low tone, never interrupting, never challenging. The other delegates didn't notice them at first. Or if they did, they assumed the humans were just observers from one of the backwater sectors. But the humans noticed everything. The council convenes at the central dais. Archlord Vir of the Korathi Empire slammed his gauntleted fist onto the table. The impact sent a thunderous boom echoing through the hall. "Enough delay. The time for debate is over," he growled. "The Tarkesh swarm has overrun 3 sectors. They will devour the core next. We must strike before their breeding fleets reach us." A chorus of agreement followed. The Tarkesh, a hive species of bioengineered monsters, consumed planets like locusts devouring crops. Even the mighty Yulthar had lost fleets to them. But the debate wasn't about whether to fight. It was about who would lead the counterattack. "The Yulthar fleets have the strongest energy projectors," a voice chimed. "They should command." "Nonsense," another countered. "Only the Korathi warriors have experience in swarm combat. We Sheer possess the most efficient targeting AIs, and we Draxian control the nebular trade routes. Logistics must fall under," and so it continued. Endless boasting, endless posturing. Each species claimed superiority, each demanded command. Meanwhile, the humans in the back said nothing, and aliens mockery hours into the debate. One of the younger Sheer delegates, a gleaming silver construct with eyes like molten glass, turned in irritation toward the quiet figures at the back. "And what of the humans?" it said, voice metallic and sharp. "You sit there silent as if watching a performance. Do you not intend to contribute?" The hall turned as one. Hundreds of eyes, compound, crystalline, photonic, biological, swiveled to the rear. The lead human, a woman with cropped dark hair and calm gray eyes, rose slowly to her feet. Her name was Ambassador Elira Trent. "We listen before we speak," she said mildly. "It's an old custom of ours." Laughter rippled across the hall. The Korathi Archlord grinned, his fangs gleaming. "Perhaps you listen because you have little worth saying," he jeered. "Your worlds lie at the galactic fringe. Your fleets are few, your weapons outdated. What counsel could your kind possibly offer here?" Elira's expression did not change. She simply inclined her head. "Perhaps none," she said. "But we learn fast." That only drew more laughter. "Typical human humility," one of the Yulthar snickered telepathically. "They still think listening will save them." So the humans remained in the back, and the others continued to bicker. The fall of Vorath, 2 months later. Vorath, a fortress world of the Korathi, fell. The Tarkesh swarm descended like a tide of black fire. Entire cities were consumed within hours. The Korathi fleets, despite their might, were overwhelmed. The Yulthar energy projectors burned thousands of ships but could not stop the flood. The Galactic Council assembled in panic. Now for the first time they sought the humans. "Terrans!" Archlord Vir barked, his tone desperate. "You fought the swarm before on the outer rim. How did you hold them off?" Elira Trent stood again, the same calm in her voice. "We didn't hold them off," she said. We ended them. A stunned silence. Ended them? How? The Yulthar envoy demanded. Elira tapped a control on her wrist pad. The holographic display above the dais flickered, and the image of a burning world appeared. Tarkish Hive World 3, or what was left of it. The surface was glassed smooth. No movement, no life. Operation Scythe, Elira explained. A coordinated orbital bombardment, followed by atmospheric ignition. We used magnetoplasma lances to set the planet's oxygen reserves alight. It burned for 6 days, then it stopped. The room erupted in shock and horror. You burned an entire planet, gasped a Draxian. That's genocide, shrieked another. Unacceptable. Uncivilized, roared the Karathi. Elira's expression did not waver. It was war, and the Tarkesh stopped expanding after that. The plan the Galactic Council was divided. The moral outrage was immense, but so was the fear. The swarm was coming, eventually, after weeks of losses. They agreed to give the humans limited operational authority, one single fleet command under Terran supervision. They called it Task Force Umbra. Only 100 ships, mostly outdated cruisers and patrol vessels. A symbolic gesture. But when the humans arrived to take command, the alien admirals were startled. The Terrans brought not 100 ships, but thousands. Sleek black vessels bearing no insignia but the small blue triangle of the Terran Defense Directorate. They were silent, their hulls matte and unreflective, their engines whisper quiet. Where did they come from? Whispered the Yulthar. We didn't know the humans had this kind of fleet. Elira simply smiled. You didn't ask. The Battle of the Shattered Veil. When the swarm reached the Shattered Veil Nebula, the galaxy's combined fleets assembled under human coordination. The alien commanders expected long deliberations, tactical debate, committee voting, typical galactic procedure. Instead, Elira Trent's command broadcast a single message across the entire fleet. Hold formation. Do not advance. Watch and learn. Then the human ships vanished. They didn't retreat. They disappeared. The alien sensors went wild. Even Yulthar photonic scans could not track them. Moments later, flashes erupted inside the swarm's formation. Dozens, then hundreds, of Tarkish vessels exploded from within. How are they doing that? Cried a Seer observer. They must be cloaked. Indeed they were. But not by stealth fields or magic tech. The humans had developed a light-bending armor, not invisible but indistinguishable from background radiation. The ship's emissions matched the cosmic noise of the nebula perfectly. Within an hour, the swarm was in chaos. Within 2, it was annihilated. When the nebular dust cleared, the human fleet reappeared, silent, undamaged, their hulls glowing faintly red from heat. The aftermath, the Galactic Council met again, this time in uneasy silence. Even the proud Karathi bowed their heads slightly when Elira entered the chamber. Your tactics, said the Yulthar Prime, are effective, but we do not understand. Why hide? Why always remain in the back? Elira looked around the hall, her eyes calm and sharp. Because that's where you see everything, she said. While others fight to stand in front, we learn from behind. We listen, we adapt, we prepare. She stepped forward, voice soft but carrying through the chamber. When humanity first joined this council, you all laughed at us, called us primitives, but in every war, in every alliance, we've sat in the back, not out of fear, but out of habit. It's what we do on our own world too, she smiled faintly. In our classrooms, the ones who sit in the back aren't silent because they're afraid. They're silent because they're watching the room. Learning the patterns, seeing who talks too much, who bluffs, who really knows what they're doing. She turned toward Archlord Veer. And when the time comes, the ones in the back already know how everyone else moves. The lesson after the swarm's destruction, the Galactic Alliance began integrating human doctrine. Observation first. Adaptive tactics. Strategic patience. But even so, the aliens never quite understood the depth of what they'd seen. They still couldn't grasp how the humans could build such fleets in secret, or how they could coordinate thousands of ships in absolute silence. They didn't realize that humanity had been preparing for centuries. Long before they'd joined the Alliance, they'd fought among themselves, planetary wars, orbital sieges, extinction-level threats. They'd learned what desperation taught best, how to survive when you shouldn't. Elira once explained it best in a later interview. We don't start wars. We finish them. That's why we sit in the back. So when the front lines fail, We're still there. Epilogue. The New Order years later. A monument stood on Velcor Prime, a simple stone slab engraved with the words, "To those who watched from the back and saw what others could not." Every race that survived the Swarm War paid homage there once a year. Even the proud Karathi warriors would leave offerings, and somewhere, deep in the Terran sector, a small fleet remained, hidden in the dark between the stars, waiting, watching, listening, because humanity had learned one truth that the galaxy had not. Those who seek glory at the front may win battles, but those who sit in the back win wars.